Hey everyone, Real Comic Stacks, and today we're knocking out a review for Avengers number 15, the continuation of the Jason Aaron run. And I'll tell you straight up, I've been enjoying this storyline and where they're going with it. So we are in the middle of the Vampire Civil War, and at the end of 14, the Avengers ended up bringing the Shadow Colonel back to the... Well, it turns out that was a horrible idea, because the Shadow Colonel is now beating the fire out of Blade and Captain Marvel, and they've managed to establish some kind of mind control over Robbie Reyes, the GhostRider. And just as soon as the fight is starting to swing to the Avengers side a little bit, GhostRider shows up, bursts through the door, or the wall, and is all spike armored up. It is crazy looking. He looks insane. And they all the Avengers are like, "Hey Robbie, what's going on? You don't have to do this. You don't." And Colonel's like, "Listen, show him what you're meant to be." And Robbie just blasts Captain Marvel, just blasts her through the wall of the Celestial. And finally, you get Thor and Iron Man that are showing up to the fight right behind this. But by the time they get there, they've already loaded up into the Ghost Wagon, and they are gone. They try to catch him, but you find out they're unable to, basically because they ran through an ocean liner, caught it on fire, and the Avengers that were in pursuit stopped to save lives rather than continuing their pursuit. And the whole time this fight is going on, you have this internal dialogue from Robbie Reyes where he's talking about he's burning. He's in so much agonizing pain. It feels like his flesh is being consumed, and at the same time, this power feels incredibly good. Now, the Black Panther is already trying to track the ghost fire, basically, and find out where it's going. But he also reveals that he has some more news, and that's that Dracula, which he did at the end of Avengers number 14, turned himself into Russian authorities and is now inside a Russian prison, which is absolutely insane if you know how powerful Dracula is in the Marvel Universe. And there we find Dracula already has a visitor, and it's Iron Man. And Iron Man has disabled the security systems, he's broke in, and he's in there talking to Dracula. And Dracula's claiming that he's there, he's just, wants to spend the last few days of his life in solitude. And Iron Man straight up laughs at him, tells him, "Look, nobody's buying it." But he makes several claims that he's not that Dracula. He's not. If he were, he would have already ripped through Tony Stark's neck at this point. And that's where we get to a point where we could be going somewhere interesting. And that's because when Tony Stark laughs at him, Dracula says, "You laugh at a dying man. Not even your horrible excuse for a father was monster enough to do that." And Dracula claims that his father actually came. Howard Stark knelt before him, blubbering and pleading, asking for a drop of Dracula's blood so that he could experience eternal life. Now, fearing that they are going to manipulate Dracula somehow into creating weapons or whatever, Tony's interested in getting Dracula under the Avengers' control, under their protection. And he offers it to Dracula, and he refuses. And then when he says, "Well, basically, I can take you," Dracula laughs at him and says, "You're not going to be able to, because you're going to be preoccupied." And Tony Stark asks, "Doing what?" He says, "Well, suppressing the riot, of course." And very quickly, Iron Man ends up working back to back, side by side, with begrudgingly with the Crimson Dynamo, and trying to suppress this riot, right as Dracula just sits there smiling and grinning, trying to just enjoying the moment. From there we go to Madripoor, where the Shadow Colonel is continuing his assault on vampires across the world. And despite that these vampires only feed on the blood of the wicked, that doesn't save them from his wrath. But you do find out from Snowsnake, one of his little minions, that they were doing everything they could to defend this door. And behind that door, you find out why they were trying so hard to defend it as they blow it open. And that's because they had their children behind it. And the Shadow Colonel's orders here to the GhostRider are very clear. Show them the monster you are. Prove you're the monster I need you to be. And the one thing that the GhostRider can do, he says he can feel it burning up inside him, and the only thing he can do is let it out. Back in Russia, during the riot, Dracula didn't move. Now, the Winter Guard's there, and they're discussing it with Iron Man, who, it gets tense, and basically they're saying, hey, you know we gotta arrest you, right? And they decide not to, but they go ahead and they Falcon punch him, just to let him know, hey, be glad that the bear wasn't here. And then you get this interesting part from Dracula. Whereas if he's talking to himself, he laughs and says, no, Howard, I don't want your boy. I don't take hand-me-downs from Starks. Jumping back to Madripoor, we see the GhostRider just erupting with flames all over the place. But he says, yeah, I'm the GhostRider. I'm the monster from hell, but even monsters have their limits. And he refuses the Colonel's order. He tells the Shadow Colonel, no. And the Shadow Colonel yells at him, tells him, do it now. He just refuses. And as the GhostRider swings around onto the Shadow Colonel, the Colonel just mutters some words, something Zarathos, and he writhes in pain. And that is when there's a huge explosion. And he says, if you don't want to kill vampire children, then he mumbles something about Mephisto. And he turns, and he looks like he's about to go at it with the Avengers that just arrived. Overall, this book was awesome. I really enjoyed it. They're finally starting to... I like GhostRider. I like the fact that he's having that internal struggle. This control thing that the Shadow Colonel has over him is interesting. I'm interested to see how they break it. Really interesting, though, is Dracula. And Dracula's tie to Howard Stark. And how basically his claim that every great man at some time has to face death, and that all these great men, or a lot of these great men, when they've done so, have cowered before it rather than accepting it, and have come to Dracula, bent the knee, and pled with him and begged for just a drop of his blood so that they can experience immortal life. The Shadow Colonel and his team seem interesting. I'm finally starting to come around on the name. It's taken a while, but I still think it's kind of lazy. But overall, it's not bad. I think the little man-thing guy that he has that produces the spikes for his Gatling gun, I think that's actually pretty cool. And his team is pretty interesting. If you haven't, go pick this up at your local LCS and check it out. It has a better introduction of each of his team members in it that I skipped over to avoid a copyright strike. Hey, if you haven't yet, make sure you click that subscribe button. If you've watched this video this much through, hey, please take the time to leave a like and leave a comment below. What did I miss, and what do you want to see going forward with the Avengers series? Also, if you aren't yet, hey, check me out on Twitter on Twitter it's comic_stacks, and on Instagram it's the Real Comic Stack. Look me up and give me a follow, guys. I appreciate it. Hope you enjoyed this. Real Comic Stacks. Ow!